What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Chaos. My name is Vlad the-tek, and today we're going to be talking about obsessive-compulsive disorder. Now, I'm going to just throw a quick disclaimer out there. I'm only self-diagnosed. I did, however, recently go in for government aid. I was denied that, but what did come out of that is that a therapist actually told me that I should investigate further whether or not I have OCD, because he believed that I do have some OCD tendencies. So that does mean that it is probable that I actually have it. So not only am I very, very suspicious about the fact that I did have it, but I also may actually have it. With that in mind, we are going to talk about OCD, what it be, what it do, and also answer some OCD questions, much like I did with autism last week. Only this time a little bit peppier. In fact, this is the video I initially wanted to do, but I decided, hey, I'm going to wait a week until my OCD kind of calms down just a bit. All my anxiety, which is kind of triggering but never mind. All right, so once again, we are at our old pal Giggle, and we're going to just start answering questions. Okay, so the very first thing are screening questions for OCD. I'm going to let you guys know what OCD is, just to clear up a few misconceptions that a lot of people still have about OCD. Now, obsessive compulsive disorder is usually linked to, there's a certain image that you kind of have in mind where people are constantly obsessing over one thing, but it can be many different things all at once. But there are two constants with obsessive compulsive disorder, and that's intrusive thinking and rituals. Typically, you can have one or the other, but most commonly you see both of them being present at once. So you can have intrusive thoughts without necessarily having a ritual attached to that thought. Typically what happens is that you'll have intrusive thinking first, and then you develop rituals to kind of help soothe the anxiety around the intrusive thoughts. And these can be about cleanliness, they can be about being exposed to hazardous things, which is what I actually deal with. Appearance, again, another thing I tend to deal with, which is odd considering myself. They could also be worries about thinking impure thoughts, like for religious examples, but I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. But typically, the thoughts come first, then the rituals. At least that's how I understand it. I'm still learning myself, so grain of salt, people, grain of salt. All right, so here we have screening questions for OCD. Now, if you think you have OCD, honestly, I wouldn't encourage you to read these screening questions. Instead, try to talk to somebody who does have OCD and try to see if you are experiencing something similar to what they're going with. It's the same thing if you are trying to figure out whether or not you have autism or not before you go in. Try to find somebody with autism and see if you connect with them on some level and see if you have similar experiences, and that'll give you a good gauge on whether or not you should actually look into this further, like I'm doing right now. All right, so do you have frequent unwanted thoughts that seem uncontrollable? Like I have stated before, I do actually go through this. It tends to be around thinking that I've been exposed to something hazardous, like with COVID-19. I kept thinking that I was exposed to it even though I hadn't been. Another one is I could have swore to God I was exposed to rabies. Yeah. There's also this thing, like on my weekends, if I don't use the time that I got properly, I actually feel like total dog shit. Not like I just have I feel bad about not using the time, but I actually tell myself you need to use all your time wisely or else you're a shitty person. These thoughts pop into my head all the time and they never really seem to go away. You try to get rid of these thoughts, and if so, what do you do? Now, with the thinking I was being exposed to rabies thing, I literally just for hours at a time search like the signs and symptoms of rabies in animals and in humans, and tried to discern when the incubation period is and when to actually go get vaccinated for it and all this other shit. Oh, there's also another one that I've actually been experiencing recently that I think might also be OCD as well, and that is that when I'm talking to somebody new that I actually like, I seem to I have these thoughts that I'm going to mess things up royally somehow. I mean, it goes beyond just regular old nervousness because nobody thinks about things the way I do. But it's like, I constantly ask myself, like, am I talking too much? Am I saying things wrong? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? Like, how much should I talk to you? How often should I message you? It's a whole thing in my brain, and I just... Do you have rituals or repetitive behaviors that take a lot of time in a day? Okay, so I actually take medication for myasthenia gravis, and if I feel like I've missed a dose, well, actually, every time I go to take a dose, I feel like I've either missed a dose or I've already taken it. So to actually get rid of that thought, I will actually dump out all the medicine onto the counter, and I will actually count it to see how much I have left. And if I have, and since I take 3 pills a day, I know how much, I know that if I haven't taken any that day, it'll be a multiple of 3. If I've taken only 1, it'll be a multiple of 3 plus 2. And then if I've taken 2, it'll be plus 1. And then if I've taken all of them, yeah. So I will often count how many pills I have left in the bottle 2 or 3 times. I will also double check to make sure I'm taking the right medicine. If it's like, because I have roommates and we have communal over-the-counter stuff like antihistamines, we have some ibuprofen and, you know, just basic shit like that. I will actually double and triple check that I've taken the right medicine before and after I take it. I will also do a whole lot of fact checking if it's something that my brain considers a little bit more serious, like being exposed to rabies, for instance. Do you wash or clean a lot? Yeah. I wouldn't say a lot though, but then again, I only have my own experiences to go on. Do you keep checking things over and over again? Not at all. All right, now we're going to this thing. Are you concerned with symmetry or putting things in order? Yeah, I think that might be more of an autism thing though. However, I almost have to have my desk set a certain way every time. In fact, my older brother actually had to record something and he wanted my help and we had to move stuff around, and my brain freaked out because we actually had to change everything about my setup, and I was worried that I wasn't going to get everything back the way it's supposed to be. I also do that a lot when I'm lining up my base cam with the games when I'm actually editing, because I have to have it made as, in fact, this morning when I was editing Lobotomy Corporation, I actually rendered down a small section of video just to double check to make sure I put my face cam in the right up at the edge of the screen, and I don't know why I did that. Although I'm not entirely sure if that's a sign of OCD, but then again, I could be wrong. Do your daily activities take a long time to complete? Yeah, but that might come with the territory of editing. Then again, it does take me a little bit longer than most people to complete just regular daily activities like washing clothes, sweeping, mopping, and doing dishes and cleaning in general. I tend to go a bit overboard because if it's not spotless, it's not clean. Do these problems trouble you? Absolutely. It's not fun having this thought in your brain that won't go away that is causing you anxiety. It's very uncomfortable, and it's even more uncomfortable when you've actually got to convince yourself that you're just going insane. I think my OCD is actually the whole reason why I have pharmacophobia. Like, because again, I still have intrusive thoughts about being exposed to something that could actually potentially harm me. Even when I was starting my medication for myasthenia gravis, I thought that I was going to have a bad reaction to the medication. I don't know why. I've never had any bad reactions to any medication aside from penicillin because I'm deathly allergic to it. So barring penicillin, I've never really had a bad reaction to any sort of medication. So this thought in my brain about I'm going to have something bad happen to me when I'm taking a new medicine is completely irrational, and I know it's irrational. Thus, I'm fucking nuts. So yeah, it kind of does trouble me a little bit. Does this behavior make sense to you? Sometimes. A lot of it doesn't really make sense to me. Like, I should be able to, you know, interact with some animals without thinking that I've been exposed to rabies, and I mean, the COVID thing kind of does make sense because I could have actually been exposed to that and not know it. This is almost turning into a Does Vlad the-tek have OCD video. I may actually put that in the title, so let's actually keep this going because honestly, it's yeah. Non-psychiatrists who may be referred patients with OCD, general practitioner for anxiety and depression, dermatologists, okay, chapped hands, eczema. Okay, that makes sense because if you're concerned about being exposed to germs, you may overwash your hands, which might dry them out. So that makes sense to me. Oh, concerns about appearance. Okay, I did say something about that, but we will get into all that in a later video about more or less what OCD is, but I will do that in the future when I have more of a better grasp on what I'm going through. And also, regardless of whether or not I actually get it confirmed that I have OCD or that I don't have OCD, I'm still going to advocate for this because I just like to advocate for mental health in general. So if you guys have experience with OCD, yeah, leave it in the comment section below, and I will be more than happy to talk about that. I want to know, what do you guys go through? Neurologist, OCD associated with Tourette's syndrome. Really? OCD in pregnancy. Though that's interesting to me. So somebody who's been through those two things, yeah, leave a comment in the comment section below. I actually want to know what you guys go through. Actually, there's an even better way to talk to me, but I'll get to that right at the end of the video, so stay tuned. Okay, so frequently asked questions about OCD. What is the difference between worry and an obsession? Honestly, it's wrong to say it's an obsession. I mean, I guess it can become kind of like an obsession, but the thing that actually characterizes your obsessions is actually intrusive thinking. They are thoughts that pop into your head that tend to be anxiety-provoking that you don't really have control over. Like if you shake somebody's hand and all of a sudden you pop into your head, oh no, I've got COVID-19 now. I need to go wash that off my hands immediately, or I'm gonna get sick. That's an intrusive thought. Worrying is a little bit different. Putting on a mask before you go out because you want to prevent yourself from catching COVID, and you also want to prevent other people from getting COVID from you. That's just a general worry. Or being extra cautious while you're driving because, you know, you could get into a car accident. That could be considered a worry because car accidents are actually fairly common. All of a sudden having a thought pop into your head where you think you might have been exposed to rabies for petting a cat, which is actually something I've done. Don't laugh. That worry is just as real in my mind as it is you might be getting into a car accident today. It was very real to me. But your worries will tend to go away once you realize that you're not in any real immediate danger, or otherwise finish performing whatever task you have, like driving across town to go to the supermarket and coming back home. Yeah, your worry tends to go away after you leave the car. But an obsession, you can't really get it off your mind that easily. You have to do something to kind of soothe your anxiety. Again, intrusive thoughts tend to provoke anxiety, and that's what characterizes them as an obsession and an intrusive thought. They're not thoughts that you normally would have on your own, and you can't get them out of your head just as easily. Can people with OCD also have panic attacks? Anyone can have panic attacks, and people with OCD are more likely to have panic attacks. In fact, some people with OCD become agoraphobic, and that almost happened to me because when I was in Independence, I actually started having a couple of pretty severe panic attacks. Maybe I will tell you guys the story at a later date as to why I was having these panic attacks, but these panic attacks were bad enough that the EMTs thought I was having a heart attack. And I got it into my head that if I go do anything, then I'm going to have these panic attacks. And I have no control over my emotions. So every time I would leave my house, I always had this thought in my mind that while I'm driving, I'm going to have a panic attack and it's going to cause me to get into a car accident. Like legit. And it actually took me scheduling a visit with my primary care physician to tell me it seems more like you're suffering from an anxiety disorder of some kind than it does that you're anything else. I actually got convinced by my former roommate, you know, the fuckhead he was, that it might be diabetes, and I believed him. But yeah, since OCD tends to provoke anxiety, yeah, you can have panic attacks, and you're probably more likely to have panic attacks. Is compulsive self-damaging behavior a form of OCD? Yes, although it's nothing that I've personally done. I know that it is a form of OCD because religious flagellation, basically striking or cutting yourself for thinking impure thoughts, that's actually an obsessive tendency. This video just got dark rather quick. Are people with OCD who have unwanted thoughts about hurting someone at risk of acting on their fears? Depends on the person. I personally am not. I'm more likely to withdraw from society, which I actually did last week because I had just these intrusive thoughts that wouldn't go away. I cannot speak from personal opinion on that one. But people with OCD do fear that they may act on the thoughts that they have in their head. Like some people may have an intrusive thoughts that they're going to harm somebody, so they think they actually withdraw to prevent themselves from harming somebody. And they're also, the whole reason why they do that is because they think they might hurt somebody. But I don't think they'll actually act on those fears because, again, anxiety. What is the difference between having an obsessive compulsive personality and having OCD? One of them is just needing to have things a certain way because you're either picky or you're just generally an asshole, or you're talking about autism again. You're autistic and you want to have things a certain way to basically help with your stress levels. OCD goes a little bit beyond that. The reason why people with OCD need to have things happen in a certain way and they need to perform these rituals is because they have a fear that something bad might happen if they don't perform the rituals. So people with OCD tend to try to control their environment really, really tightly. In fact, I do that a lot with my finances because I have this innate fear that something's going to happen. I'm going to lose control of it all. I think that might be partially because that's actually happened before. But I had those thoughts even before I lost all of my shit. When does normal checking end and pathological checking begin? Most neurotypical people will end at just checking once. People with OCD, okay, I'll use this example since it's actually something that's happened to me before. Let's say you get it into your head that you might have been exposed to an illness like COVID-19. Let's say you think you're probably sick with COVID-19, even though you haven't left the house. Well, you're going to go check, and it comes back negative. Good. But then you convince yourself, no, I've still got to have this disease. So you go and you recheck. Right there. That is overchecking. If you literally keep getting checked just for the thought that you might have it and you don't actually have a rational reason to do it, especially when you've been checked once and everything turned out fine, that would be pathological. You're doing something just to soothe a thought in your head, and you're not actually doing it for practical reasons at all at that point. OCD is one of those ones that's actually a bit hard to actually joke about because it's actually something that can be life-altering all on its own that some people almost require medical intervention to actually help overcome. I don't know how I've gotten so lucky as to be able to deal with it on my own, provided that I actually do have it. Remember, I'm still self-diagnosed. Also, if you made it to the end, bear in mind, self-diagnosis is still okay with me, all right? I'm okay if you're only self-diagnosed to be OCD, A.D.H.D, or whatever. However, with OCD, I would also encourage you to, actually confirm it. With OCD, I was actually a little bit hesitant to actually make this video because it's actually got some pretty heavy connotations behind it. Whereas with autism, well, yeah, autism and A.D.H.D do have their shit attached to that as well. But for the most part, OCD is a little bit more severe, or can be more severe than both of those. In much the same way that I'm comfortable with people saying only being self-diagnosed for autism, which yes, is fine. As long as you have actual reasons behind thinking that you might have autism, I'm perfectly fine with you just saying that you're self-diagnosed. Especially since here in America, it's fucking expensive to get it diagnosed when you're an adult. I am lucky that I got diagnosed as a kid, and I don't actually have to worry about getting my diagnosis as an adult. But now I'm actually worrying about getting diagnosed with OCD now, because that's a fucking massive bill, because I actually have to go to a psychologist, and a lot of insurances don't actually cover that. So yeah, it's fine. And if it turns out later that I don't have OCD, so what? I'm not stating that I think I might have it to gain sympathy or anything like that. I'm stating it to bring awareness to something that people actually do suffer from, myself included. Okay, hopefully I haven't accidentally drugged this out. Leave a comment in the comment section below if you guys, thanks. It's bad because I'm actually worrying about whether or not I've actually just been coherent or anything out of that long rant. But yeah, leave a comment in the comment section below if you guys have any experience with OCD at all. Also, as I mentioned before, there's also a new way you guys can actually get a hold of me. I've finally managed to get the Discord server at least operational for now. So we have a working Discord server. Links in the description below. And if you want special Discord badges, you can also go support me on Patreon, and the different tiers will actually have your tier level listed in the Discord server as well. I've got that operational, I hope. And in the future, if things start really taking off, I'll actually have those different tiers have access to different things on the Discord server. Oh, like maybe you guys could actually record a game with me or something like that. Except for Among Us. Among Us, I'm just going to keep public between us, and you may or may not be recorded. Just let me know beforehand. All right, but I'm going to end this here. But so for now, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed it, feel free to show me some love down below by hitting the like button, and don't forget to check out the annotations for more videos. And I will see you in the next video.